So, if you joined me for the Capricorn Full Moon Light Worker Lunar update, you already know. This Capricorn Full Moon is talking about what's dead, done, dusted, and over. And it is time for a new beginning. But what's interesting in this for both Juno, Divine Feminine, and Jupiter, Divine Masculine, is that their conversations with Pluto, with Uranus, are indicative of where there is a running through line between the two of them, that there's something in the divine feminine energy that has closed out, needs to change and evolve. While she experiences it from within, the divine masculine energy is going to experience this as a mirror being held up through the interactions and the connection, or your internal feelings concerning the connection. If you're new here, welcome back. My name is Kay Moon. I'm a Western astrologer and twin flame channel. This is going to be your twin flame divine counterpart soulmate update concerning the Capricorn full moon, which takes place here at the 8th degree. This is going to serve as a part two to the part one, which gives a full breakdown of this full moon and will help you understand why I'm interpreting what I'm seeing for the divine counterparts in the way that I am. And will also provide you with some structural grounding for what the work is and the questions are for this full moon. So definitely have a listen to that first and then come on back for this. This full moon is absolutely a closure focused full moon. It is tied to the lunar eclipse in Pisces coming up 60 days from now, which also speaks quite heavily to completion and closure. We're going to talk about it when we get there in August. But for now, let's dive into what Juno, the divine feminine energy, may be experiencing at this full moon. We see a semi-sextile to the the full moon in Capricorn, which is conjunct Pholus. For divine feminine energies, this facilitates a deeper subconscious reckoning with old patterns, processes, and programs. From this angle, it is going to feel like instinct, like flinching, like a knee-jerk reaction to respond to situations in present time in the old ways. The call to do the old thing, it's going to be automatic, and it's going to be really hard not to take that path because it's going to be so familiar. However, it will have a purpose to take a different route. Taking that path will be fraught with some tension and some toxicity. And it's going to show us we can no longer go forward on that pathway. Now, how far we go down a dark path or a path that's not the way, that's really going to be up to us. We also see that conjunct Pluto retrograde for Juno. I've already spoken at length about Pluto conjunct Juno in the Sagittarius full moon a month ago, so definitely have a listen to that for some greater intel for the collective and ways this may be playing out. This is truly a moment of reckoning for divine feminine energies around learning how to pick up and use your power. It's going to play out different ways for different folks and different connections. Definitely, like I said, re-listen to that Sagittarius full moon lunar update because you'll definitely be seeing those themes playing out in your life in real time now. This conjunction to Pluto opens up at this full moon where you have the option and opportunity to do something different. And it's going to feel like, wow, in order to do the different thing, I'm gonna have to confront something that potentially is scary for me in one way or another. Okay. Now we also have sextile for Juno to Saturn and Neptune. This is a pull toward our own wholeness and out of what compromises us in groups and in connection. So we will know it even if we are not able to act on it. But if we do act on it, it will need to be a conscious choice. Okay. Wholeness here is brought in by Saturn. Saturn will cut off or remove anything that compromises our capacity in the sign of Aries to be whole self, best self, most self-expressed self, while we are dealing with partnerships, that's Juno, or community settings, that's Aquarius, so that we're able to operate from our higher spiritual self and timeline. That's the Neptune component. So there is this deeper, richer, fuller opportunity to show up as whole self, operating with our right use of power in these settings as a divine feminine energy. And just as a quick reminder, these are energetic fields and frequencies. We all have Juno somewhere in our natal chart. We all have an internal divine feminine frequency. So we're all being initiated into this right use of power through confronting something that scares us and releasing an old pattern at this full moon in Capricorn. We also see a square for her to Chiron in Taurus for Juno, and that's very interesting because this is where the trigger of feeling victimized or feeling stuck or feeling like our third dimension is just completely unresponsive to what we're trying to manifest and how we're trying to grow is going to come from. And this is where we may mirror feeling abandoned or rejected. That's the initiation of the Chiron story. Through abandonment and rejection behaviors redirected either at the connection, at a person, at a situation, at our own bodies. My body just refuses to cooperate. I'm just going to give up on it. This sort of thing. And so as I'm looking at this and recognizing, this is the moment where we actually have to stop and turn toward. See the trigger as a bid for connection from our body, from the circumstance, etc. But also recognize that the bid for connection is to engage it in a new way. Look, Chiron is in a brand new sign. We can't engage it from the wounded identity that Chiron has hosted as it transited Aries for the last 8 years. We have to engage it from a whole new frequency. Okay. In a whole new way, one that's far more Taurian, far more pleasure oriented, far more about feeling good about self and about others, far more holistic, no longer abandoning the body, right? So this is the invitation here with Chiron in this square to Juno and Pluto. But there is, I got to be honest, there's a level of grief here that is inescapable. Whenever Chiron and Pluto are in communication, as they are now, we get an opportunity to mourn what's gone, what's over, to release that. And there is a type of showing up in connection for Juno, the divine femininity in all of us. There's a type of showing up, a pattern of showing up that really is truly dead and gone for all of us. It's time for us to move collectively to our next way of showing up. For those of you in some format of union, you may find that this new way of showing up has something to do with new way of showing up in community, new way of showing up for each other as partners, new way of showing up for your kids. For those of you who identify in some format of separation, this may have something to do with a new way of showing up in the way you hold the connection. Maybe you give up the story that separation and suffering and separation equals love. Maybe you are giving up the identity, because certainly Chiron leaving Aries is the end of one identity stage, the identity of twin flame, the identification with running and chasing narratives and storylines, right? For others, this is going to be giving up a chapter and a season of, believing in separation or even believing for some of you in union. I don't know. You're going to know for you what that is. I can't dictate that for you, but it's going to require you really listening in to your own body for your own cohesion. Where are heart, mind, body, and spirit experiencing cohesion, wholeness, oneness, unity within self first? That is going to be the platform for whatever format union can take for you in connection. No parts separated from the others, no parts repressed and left behind. Okay. So it's going to look very different for different people there. We're also going to see Juno here having conversation by trine with Ceres, Uranus, and Mars here in Gemini. And I think this is probably the most catalytic energy of everything here. This is what's going to cause us to feel very itchy to do something new, something different, take a new action, try a new thing, explore a new route, a new mental framework, that's the Gemini, a new behavior, that's the Mars, close out, that's the series, the old mental frameworks and behaviors. Do something completely different than we've done or tried before. So I think this is a really exciting opportunity for our divine feminine energies to really open a portal to a new reality, especially with she's speaking to Pluto. There's definitely a death and an ending here. There's a real opportunity to carve out a new frequency in connection, and depending upon what that is for you in your connection, a new way of showing up. And so I like to see this because definitely with so much placements here in air signs, a lot of this is mental. We know that, whatever tradition, spiritual tradition you come from, the work always starts within and then pushes itself out, right? We always see it on the plane of mind before we see it on the plane of matter. Thoughts become things. And so this thing where we're talking to ourselves in new ways, thinking about connection in new ways, behaving in connection in new ways based on these new ideas that are coming online. This definitely seems like a huge opportunity for Juno because she's under this sort of pressure to be new and different, as I've mentioned, and it's uncomfortable both ways. To stay the same is uncomfortable, thanks, Pholus, but also to do something new and different is uncomfortable, thanks, Uranus, Mars, and Pluto and Saturn. But only one path leads to a new reality, right? So pick the path of discomfort that's going to allow you to try something different, become a different person in connection. For those of you who identify in some format of separation, it's this new behavior that's going to actually allow you to open your pathway to union. For those of you who identify in some format of union already, it's this new behavior that's going to take your union to the next level of expression in the third dimension, whether that's some type of mission, some type of new co-parenting, some type of new light work and leadership in your individual or joint lives. It's this holding of a new frequency, telling of a new story that unfolds this new reality. We also see Juno in a loose opposition to Venus here. This is going to make just a little bit of tension concerning relationships. It's going to make some of the glue hard to sustain. Venus in Leo wants to be the star of her own show. She really wants to take center stage. Juno in Aquarius is asking us to rewrite our relationship contracts. And so, how do we rewrite these contracts in ways that are self-honoring and not self-effacing? but in a way that also allows others to be living in their own main character energy as well, recognizing that no one's doing it wrong, right? Letting alignment show itself where it can, and where there's misalignment, allowing that to be okay. Like that, not pathologizing that right now the puzzle pieces may not fit with this type of opposition going on. That's some of the growth edge here. We also see a trine to the shaman's asteroid. That's Haumea, my bad. Here is Makemake there at the 10th degree of Libra, calling for Juno to integrate deeper lessons in partnership that she's learned through her journey. This loose opposition to Jupiter that's also happening, the divine masculine energy there at that 29th degree of Cancer. She's at that 9th degree of Aquarius. He just goes 10 more degrees into Leo, and he's right there opposing her. They will get into more direct opposition in July. It brings in an aspect of tension between the counterparts where, just astrologically speaking, there's this dichotomous seesaw energy that calls for communication and collaboration to get on the same page. And thankfully, this Mercury retrograde will assist both counterparts with doing that over the course of July. But the energy here, the frequency here, is it we've now come out of the first chapter of 2026 astrologically for counterparts, where the counterparts astrologically were in what we as astrologers call a no conversation, the inconjunct. So there was nothing between them energetically. Now there's at least opposition between them energetically. And this is where it takes a lot more communication, patience, understanding, vulnerability, transparency and just listening for how the mirror is showing up between the two. And there's a huge mirror here between divine masculine and divine feminine, which I'm going to talk more about here in a moment. And you'll see it as I talk to where Jupiter, the divine masculine energies are at, because it's a very interesting mirroring journey to the divine feminine energy. But I'm going to take a deeper dive on Jupiter because Jupiter is about to step into Leo this month, in the month of July, as we close out June. So roughly right around the 1st of July, 31st or 30th June, we're going to see Jupiter make this transition. We already see Jupiter at the 29th degree of Cancer, and this really fosters a brand new frequency we haven't seen in 12 years entering the divine masculine energetic fields. It's Jupiter in Leo, the sign of creative power, personal sovereignty, governs our inner child and children alike. And so as Jupiter steps into Leo, it's going to bring a new energy for the next year into our divine counterpart connections, an energy of deeper sovereignty, deeper wholeness, deeper self-awareness, a deeper desire for personal autonomy and self-creatorship, unfolding in connections. And that is going to change the way both counterparts show up and both counterparts' priorities in connection for a year's worth of time. I'm going to break down what this means for all 12 signs inside of Star Club, and I invite you to join me with a Stellium membership, as there are Stellium memberships left if you'd like to join. We do get to a lot of different events in July. Jupiter in Leo for all 12 signs is one that's coming up on July 11th. We also will have some lunar circles, the Capricorn Full Moon lunar circle, Cancer New Moon lunar circle. We're going to talk about our member voted live here, where you get to choose what it is we discuss, and I'll just read on it. Then we're going to talk about Chiron and Taurus for all 12 signs, which is going to be huge. Taurus is the first feminine sign of the zodiac. And so there's specific impact to divine feminine energies and what this is going to mean in the way you hold your divine feminine energy for the next 7 years, 8 years. So we want to make sure you're aware of what's coming for that. So if you're curious about the live events in Star Club, go ahead and check out the link below this video. There is one spot left for new moon membership. New moon membership is when I read for you once a month for 3 months. It's a 30-minute per month membership. And what you get with that is the opportunity for us to sit down and talk and look at any charts you want. So a lot of flexibility. There's one spot left. In a relationship reading, you're basically saving 25% off of the regular price for a relationship reading with the new moon membership. So it's 188 if you're getting it off the website, but it becomes 144 if you're getting it with your new moon membership. And we can look at your kids, your husband, your counterpart, the boss you're not getting along with, the business partner you want to get on a better page with. And in the new moon membership, you will see that there's availability for us to speak in July. We can look at multiple charts. There's ongoing opportunity for Q&A. You will get weekly deep dives with me where you can ask questions, understand these energies and the choices better, as well as a 25% savings on any class that I lead. So those who signed up for Manifestation Mastery from within Star Club paid 25% less than everyone who, signed up outside. Plus, you get ongoing community support. Whereas if you're just waiting on me to open readings again, might be a minute before that happens because right now there's no July dates available. You only get to look at one additional chart as opposed to multiples in a session. You don't get ongoing weekly Q&A or deep dives, and there's no savings on classes and no community support. So I strongly recommend if you want to get in on this, it is $433 total instead of paying $564 total. And there's options for buy now, pay later at checkout so that you can have a payment plan and make it easier for yourself. So if you're feeling like there's a lot of uncertainty in your connection or change in your connection, it is because of everything that's going on in the Juno energy field with these major planets speaking to Juno right now. As I just mentioned, um, we saw that Juno is receiving activation from Pluto, death, closure, and endings, Uranus to hand of divine change, Chiron, wounds and way showership. We also see Saturn and Neptune as part of the communication, restoration of integrity, and call to higher spirituality. It's very rare that we see Jupiter or Juno in communication with all of these at the exact same time as she's doing now. Jupiter has joined the party, but this is why it feels like you may have one foot in the old, one foot in the new in your connections. It's because these planets, the ones I just pointed out, those are the ones that change a timeline. Not Mercury, not the sun, not the moon, not Venus. Those change signs, every 30, 40 days. If we were going to have those planets wreck, change, or build our lives, we'd all be getting married and divorced every month. It's Pluto, it's Neptune, it's Saturn, it's Uranus, that 180 are realities. And because the divine counterparts are now in communication with all of these at the same time, there's this pregnant pause in the air as the universe is delivering a potentiated state, raw, charged material, and saying, what are you going to do with this? What do you want? And so there's a lot of Star Club members utilizing their new moon and full moon memberships reading time with me just for straight up coaching. Like, help me figure out what I want and how to navigate from here, Kay. Here's where we've been at. Here's where I want to go. Here's our charts. Here's where we are in the middle. How do I get from here to there? And we're doing live coaching in order to get there. And so this takes us into our lunar question for today's live. This one comes from one of our Star Club members named Ash. I want to thank you, Ash, for being willing to just drop this question in my inbox. It's a super, super smart question. I wanted to bring it in. She's a new moon member. I wanted to bring it in for you guys because I feel like it's a question that I'm seeing a lot among all of my Star Club members. She writes and she says, Kay, for our first session, there's several things that I want to talk about, but here's one of them. There's a very strong energy right now. Um, and I feel like my counterpart and I are at a crossroads. And we've got one foot in the old timeline, one foot in the new, and I'm still struggling with the mental aspect of it all. Juno in an air sign, not being able to forget or let go. But I have these glitches, that's what she called them, where I feel like my higher self, and none of it matters. But those only last for a day or two at a time. I don't know what to do with this energy. So, Ash, I want to thank you for bringing this lunar cue to the mix, dropping this in my inbox. I'm definitely going to talk about this in your session. But here's what I wrote back to her that I want to share with you guys here. And if you're liking this little segment of the lunar update, just definitely let me know in the comments below. We'll keep it in. Um, I said, most of what you're experiencing is beyond you and him and your individual charts and astrology. And it's beyond what our third dimensional consciousness is capable of perceiving. And it's a function of the following things. We've got some crazy solar weather happening this summer. Lots of, we have like solar storms, solar flares, which have the capacity to create a very electrified state here on Earth. We see this being discussed um, by, electric companies and satellite companies, like how they are actually preparing in a very scientific, physical matter, 3D kind of way for solar eruptions and the way that those challenge technology. But our bodies also carry electronic signal. So we are 100% susceptible to some of these solar weather changes in the way that they shift electrical signaling in our brain. And as a result of some of this, she said she's calling it glitches. What my guides have been saying is that the solar weather in and of itself is allowing us to rewire in a brand new way the way we're thinking and patterning our responses to our reality. So it's not only the solar weather, the second thing is the planets changing signs. And so I just went over that piece of it in what I was talking about with Juno, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Chiron, all in new signs, Saturn as well. This is causing us all to feel like we're in this new reality, right? And now we have all of that. Plus, Earth's frequency is ascending. The hertz that Earth radiates at is no longer what it used to be. It's actually climbing up a little bit higher. And that too is causing a destabilization of old consciousness, our capacity to operate in old narrative frequencies. So you put all three of these together, and what we get is this malleability of our current reality, aka timelines. And so to navigate this, and this is what I told her I'm going to share with you, it's really important to balance focus with clear-heartedness in this place, like really be clear, like yes, what happened happened, but I no longer need to respond to the past as if it's repeating now. The reality we're living in is very much like putty right now. And so we're going to see the opportunity for rapid transformational shifts in this energy in the third dimension. Things do not have to look today, like they looked yesterday at all. So if you need some help kind of moving through this, like I said, you can use that final new moon reading that is available for coaching. It doesn't have to just be for astrology, but we can certainly talk through the astrology if you like. Okay, so I wanted to make sure I shared that with you. Thank you, Ash, for writing in this lunar cue for us to look at. We are going to see here for Jupiter. Let's go ahead and talk about Jupiter, the divine masculine energy there at that 29th degree of Cancer, conjunct Mercury retrograde, an opening of the mental and communication lines in our divine masculine energetic fields. This is going to open the communication and the thought lines concerning matters of the heart, family, teams, mothers, and female authority figures. So, if there are things to work out along those lines and step into a higher level consciousness, Mercury retrograde is going to help us do this, but then so too will divine masculine energy stepping into Leo. A sign that doesn't self-negotiate or self-compromise or self-abandon in the ways that we learned we have to stop while Jupiter was transiting retrograde in Cancer. So, as of late 2025, early 2026, the lesson was stop self-abandoning. As we now integrate that lesson and Jupiter, our divine masculine energy, steps into Leo, this is where the rubber hits the road and we start the process of working through what that actually looks like in practice, what that looks like in communication with Mercury retrograde, what that looks like in mindset. We also see a square for Jupiter to Haumea, the creation goddess. This is making the movement of creation more challenging. It doesn't mean it can't happen. It just means that discerning and decision making need to be conscious and intentional, right? Because that particular square can make it easy to lapse or relapse into older patterns at this point in time because the creation goddess is in the sign of death and ending. So creating something new isn't as accessible. She's also in the place of she's retrograde. So the forward movement towards something new, a little less accessible. We're going to have to make it an intentional choice and be consciously aware of closing a door. We also see an opposition to Juno and Pluto in Aquarius here. And this is going to be in our divine masculine energetic fields, the beginning of a massive ego correction in connection, both in community and in partnership, business and romantic, where we have been outside the operation of spirit and operating too much in ego and connections. This transit will be humbling and eye-opening. Now, for some, this is going to inflate the ego before it corrects it. And for others, it's going to deflate the ego before it corrects it. For those who've been operating in too much of a self-effacing manner, this is going to force you to step into correcting that and the process of recognizing you can no longer be a doormat or everyone's hero. And that may really be a difficult place to be and include some tough breaks to force you to step up instead of opting out or discounting yourself yet again. And if you've been on the opposite side of that spectrum and not even realized it, where you've been operating in too much ego, experiences that you're going to have over the course of June, July, and August as Jupiter opposes Pluto in these early degrees of Leo, this is going to be where experiences you have in partnership and community will provide the mirror you need to course correct at this time. The goal here is to take the mirror for what it is and make corrections rather than double down. which is going to cause situations to become messier and more complicated, right? It's going to be humbling, but it's going to be useful, all right? Jupiter is also going to trine Neptune in Aries, and this is going to be a real option and opportunity to either slip into escapist patterns or alternatively transcend those patterns through spiritual practice. Which way we go is going to be a matter of choice. But if you already know that you have tendencies with behavioral or substance addiction, this will activate the desire to reopen that door or intensifies those behaviors if you're not mindful. So, food, drugs, alcohol, gaming, overwork, etc., sex. Alternatively, great time to step into visualization, meditation, hypnotherapy, etc. Okay. So the option here is to indulge more helpful nervous system regulation practices, spiritual practices, and visionary practices that will help you move your life onto a new timeline, since timelines are so doggone malleable right now. We also see a trine to Nessus in Pisces here for Jupiter. This will generate an obsession with each of the elements that I've spoken to already. And we've got a square to Chiron and Eris in Aries and Taurus down here. Now, this will heighten sensitivity when it comes to feeling like we're not good enough. Like I said, this is going to be an ego softening time, to put it gently, to put it mildly. As the ego softens, we have the opportunity to reshape it in healthier ways, but understand that just as you are going through this, so too is everyone around you. Tread lightly, speak with love, stay patient, stay open. Jupiter is also, and lastly, experiencing a lovely little sextile to Mars and Uranus in Gemini, same way Juno is. And again, this is where hyper malleability of mind and patterning of the mindset can change. This is also where we get openings to then new timelines as a result. It's going to catalyze change in a really beautiful way. So I told you guys last year, look, people can change in an instant. Overnight, their minds and hearts can move in a moment. It was because I was seeing them, both counterparts, start to come into communication with Uranus, which can generate overnight instantaneous shifts. So again, as this raw potentiated state energy is available to all of us right now, we shape it through the mental processes, what's happening in the mind. And it's really important to get control over what's unfolding in your mind as we move through this so that you can navigate to your highest possible timeline. I want to thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing. If you'd like to talk with me, you can certainly take that last new moon membership or join Star Club as a Stellium member. We have Q&As weekly, different types. We have a member area where you can post questions and I share insights. I'd love to be able to support you in this new way that I have been called to in my business. Thank you again for all your shares and sharing your story below. It definitely helps validate things for others. I love you guys so much, and I can't wait to see you in Star Club. Take great care, and bye for now.